Hey, MMT followers, Christina Fuges with MoldMaking Technology for another quick MMT chat. My guests today are both from Liberty Molds in Portage, Michigan. Meet President Brian Scott and International Tooling Coordinator. So that title, and I like that title, Mark Israels. The Liberty team has been involved in a project with Ford Motor Company to manufacture respirator components with a pretty quick turnaround. But before we get to that, let's talk a little bit about how everybody is. How is everyone at Liberty Molds, and how is business right now, or since the outbreak?
Thank you, Christina. I appreciate that. We're all doing pretty well here. Obviously, there's a lot of personal stress in the company, not understanding where things are moving and worried about their families and so we're all doing pretty well. We came together. We're a pretty small group of 34 people, and we are kind of a family-oriented group. So we kind of lean on each other, and we're all doing pretty well.
What kind of precautions did you guys put in place?
Well, when we first heard of this, when Michigan came out with their stay-home policy and the CDC recommendations, we supplied face masks that we have in the shop. The guys are using those. We also put in hand sanitizer stations. Obviously, in a tool shop environment, 6 feet distancing is really not available for us all the time, but we do try to maintain as much space as we can. So just general cleanliness. We wipe all of our machines down, our door handles and doorknobs in the morning, every morning, and during the day as well. So we have a cycle that we follow, and we do the best we can.
So how has leadership stepped in to bring your team together? Because it's, the uncertainty and even the fear of being put at risk because they have to go into the shop every day. How has leadership helped with that?
Well, like I said, we're a pretty small group and we're pretty family oriented. And a lot of these people we have here, I've known for 30 years. So we get together, we talk a lot more often. I am in the shop a lot, walking through, talking to individuals, asking how they are personally, not worrying about how much workflow is getting done, but more asking them how they're feeling. So I think it's, I think as part of a leadership, that's important to make sure the guys know that I'm here with them and
that you're in it too.
We're all in this together. Yeah.
Do you agree, Mark?
I do. The guys out there, they are coming in, they're getting in their cars every day, and they are kind of, coming through this whole COVID thing. So just the idea of making them feel comfortable here and letting them know that we're doing our side of it, as far as making them and the environment as clean as we can. So, leadership is, just backing that up, I think, at this point. I think the leadership is strong here all the time, but at this point, I think it's important that there's a little extra element to it that they need to be comfortable with.
They're the two things that come up with most conversations are leadership and communication during these times. So just keep, in any crisis, really, outside of a daily basis, like you're saying, Mark, in these situations, you better be on your game in those two areas.
Absolutely.
All right, let's get into the project details. So talk a little bit about what actually you were making and how the project came about.
Well, shortly, I think the time frame was right towards the end of March. I got a phone call from one of my contacts at Ford Motor Company direct, asking if I was willing to help if needed on some components. It wasn't specific components at the time, and my first words out of my mouth is absolutely, whatever we can do to help. And then within 24 hours of that conversation, some information started flowing in, and some part models and part CAD data started coming in. And what we started working on initially were components for a personal respirator system. And it's a 3M project. So 3M and Ford teamed together to do this. And so currently we have, I think, 12 molds being built, or have been built. And I think with a total of 10 different components, Mark, total,
yeah,
with molds, a couple of capacity tools as well.
Okay. What were the lead times on this? Because I want to get a sense for to get a snapshot what Liberty is known for, what your specialty is, and you kind of went over the workforce, and then kind of comparing it to what was demanded of the team with these projects. I want to get a comparison.
Yeah, well, what Liberty molds, our typical molds that we build are interior components, electrical components, kinetic type parts. So high tolerance parts that are inside the hood or under the hood, inside the car in the compartment. And our tools are not large; they're a lot on the smaller side. So, you know, 500 ton size, press size, and under, or as our size range. So a lot of precise type tools. Our typical lead times are 10 to 14 weeks, depending on obviously the complexity or our workload and everything. But these tools were requested 2 to 4 week lead times, and they were not for aluminum prototype tooling. It was for hard or P20 type production tools that could run 500,000 or more shots. So they were production tooling.
How complex were these molds compared to what you typically build?
They're not as complex, to be honest with you. So that leads itself into a shorter lead time for sure. I think the biggest hurdle was getting the materials in. A lot of our suppliers really stepped up to the plate to get mold bases and steel in literally within 24 to 48 hours of the order, so we could get started on the tools. So.
Did you just work it into the schedule? Like, was it all hands on deck and other projects were kind of put aside, or how did that work?
A little bit of both. We definitely had to put some projects back a little bit. Our average tool is anywhere from 1,000 to 2,000 hours of man hours in a job. So they're long lead times, and so these jobs here are 200 hours or 400 hours. So really we could do a lot more with our people, but we had to move people or projects back, and we're trying to catch back up on those right now. And we also bought new equipment as well to help the flow through of the shop.
Oh, so let's get into that. So does that involve what I saw on social media, which is why I reached out to you guys, was because you talked about you invested in a new Herco machine and was particularly critical for this project, right? To help get it done with the quick turnaround. Is that the story?
Well, it's similar. It's pretty much the story. We're kind of in a long-term phase to upgrade everything in the shop and to have more technologies, and we've done a lot in the last 5 years. But we purchased 2 brand new Herco CNC machines, which we ordered and were put in place within 72 hours, and we were cutting steel on new molds. So it was pretty impressive on Herco's part.
Yes, I would say so.
And also it gave us more capacity, which we needed. I had men to run them. And so I needed the spindles to get the work done.
So these were machines that, do you think, were you planning to purchase these at some point within a certain time frame, or?
Yeah, within the next 12-month period, we're planning on purchasing. We have kind of a plan every 2 or 3 years to purchase new machines and replace some older ones and upgrade. And they were on the list. It just got accelerated by a lot.
I like that. You're the first shop where a big investment like that was put into place because of the work you're doing for the virus. You know, I've heard, component companies step up, investing in different software things, but machine tools, that's decent. And that's a great story for Herco to tell also.
Yeah, they were very proud of it, and I was proud of them. They stepped up, and we're long-term Herco customers, so I think that helped. Obviously, everybody's in this together. We're going to do everything we can to make it right.
Exactly. What did you learn through this process so far most about, or anything surprised you about your people or your current process? Like the fact that you can achieve a certain lead time now, like you've set new expectations, let's put it that way. Customers aren't going to care what the situation was. They're going to know that you can do it. So what did you learn about your people or your process that maybe you can implement, or make changes when we get back to, ordinary times?
Hey, Mark, do you want Mark's on the front lines with that, so he works with the guys, so he might be able to answer that one.
Well, the people, we learned first and foremost that they're willing to step up and do the task at hand. When we took this on, we had, some short meetings, with the group, management side of it, and, said, look, we're going to take these projects on, and do we have the right crew for it? And the answer was absolutely yes, and then breaking the news to the guys in the shop floor, there wasn't anybody out there that wasn't willing to go forward. So to learn that, obviously we knew what they were capable of to begin with, but they really stepped up, and it was really nice. So it was really nice to see that. The people are great. They work well together. They understand that there's a virus out there, and they're all doing their part on that side of it. They can't talk about that enough. But and the process is, there's things happen quicker, with ordering the steel and the mold bases, and they're doing things that they didn't have to do before in regards of, now they have to maybe do this machine a little differently because, it's a process of the 4-week lead time and such like that.
Yes.
So obviously the team and learning how to work together and get to the end goal here in the shortest amount of time with the quality still built into it. That's what the impressive part was. So we've learned what we've always known is, they're willing to do it, and we've got a great team on our hands.
Yeah, it always comes back to the people. You can have, technology too, but if the people aren't on board, and if they're certainly not going to get on board on something this critical, and who can't relate to something medical, right? And something that's newsworthy. If they can't jump on board and get it done for that, then I don't know what's going to make them do it, right? So was this project in any way like a reshoring thing? Like would Ford or 3M have taken this elsewhere out of curiosity, do you know?
Well, these parts are currently being produced in Europe and overseas. And so I think it had to do with their supply.
Yeah, of course.
With it getting in there. So to answer the question, yeah, it was a somewhat of a reshoring type project. I don't know what long term that's going to.
Yeah, I was going to say so.
Particular project, but these molds are, they are quick turnarounds. I would say in a normal average lead times on these tools would be under 10 weeks, would be 8 to 10 weeks. So they're not, the complexity, but yeah, it's a reshoring.
Do you have give me both of you gentlemen, like, do you have a take on what you think is going to happen with rethinking supply chains and people thinking more locally, right? Not even just so much China, even though the focus is China, but just overall, what do you see happening in the short and long term?
Well, short term, obviously you're seeing it, right? In the next year, I think 18 months, some of the projects, smaller projects, I think are better targets to stay here in the U.S. and reshore. Some of the large, the OEMs and the world that we live in, automotive world, there's still going to be price, restraints and pressures and all this. So I don't know how that's going to affect it long term. I'd like to say it's going to affect it a lot, but maybe a little bit. But all it takes is just a little bit, and then a little bit more, and put your foot in the door. With the tariffs that have been in place, that's kind of swinging it one way. So, I hate to have a catastrophic issue like this coronavirus, sway our industry, but
But hey, it's eye-opening, right? It's putting a spotlight on it.
Yeah,
I think people are realizing what we can do, locally here in the U.S. as a tool shop. We've done a lot overseas, of course, because of, the pricing and everything like that. But I think it's an eye opener for everyone to realize that we do have a strong workforce here in the U.S. for building tools. And I think this was, like I said, a little bit of a light shining on us guys and let them remember that we're here for them,
Yeah, I agree. Like the silver lining is that, like, hopefully you can't not acknowledge that all these products and equipment that are needed, manufacturers have to make them. They're not just appearing. So how critical it is what you guys are doing. I'm thinking that's good for everybody. The next generation to see what a pivotal role that manufacturing plays, and mold making specifically. In the beginning it was a lot of the 3D printing, right? And then they found out that that's not enough. We need more. That can't answer the call alone. So I thought that was an interesting story to tell too. There's mold making that's still very critical to this nation and to our security and our health at this point.
That's right.
So it is good. So I have an interesting question for you. So you're primarily in automotive. So I was talking to someone recently, and I don't know your perspective on where you have things slowed down for you in the automotive space right now.
Well, I think 2019 was a pretty slow year overall for automotive, I think it continues into 2020. Us personally, we were pretty busy. We always seem to stay pretty busy, even in the slowdown time. So overall, I think it has slowed down a little bit. There's a lot of quoting activity. I think. When things are, when some of the OEMs get back to work and some of their suppliers get back to work, they're going to have to make up for some lost time. So it very well could be a kind of crazy summer and crazy fall. I think if they still have to maintain their launches. We do work 2 or 3 years out for automotive, so they're going to try to maintain those launches, and now it's just got compressed by 5 months.
Yeah, that's true. Look out, right? Somebody was telling me, like, some people think there's going to be the slowdown. Consumers aren't going to be buying cars. And then this guy outlined the scenario where if you look at the vaccine, they're saying a vaccine could be a year out. You're still going to have this population of people who take trains and buses, jump in Ubers or cabs that might still be afraid. So there might be maybe people in the cities who would not primarily buy a car, there might be a population of people that are starting to buy cars. I thought that was an interesting perspective. I don't know. It could be right?
It's interesting.
Positive.
Yeah, I think we're in uncharted waters, right? We'll find out. Yeah. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, it's going to happen, right?
Yep.
So moving forward, what's your single biggest concern with this virus?
Mark, you got it?
Yeah, I'm just, we don't know. Actually, the concern is how long is it going to last? I mean, even if it lasts a year, which there'll still be some evidence of it, I'm sure, that far out, and it'll always be here. It'll just be at a different level. Concern is how long it's going to take to get up and running, full speed ahead. I think there's going to be some catch up at the end of the day. Once things settle down, people start coming back to work. The automotive people get their offices, and I think there's going to be some frantic times there, because although they're working from home, you just can't be as efficient as you are when you're in the office, walking down the hallway and talking to somebody, getting the answers you need. So there's going to be some catch up there. So it might be frantic at first, unknown. Exactly, I don't know. I think that we're in for at least a year's worth of reproduction of this thing. So we'll see.
Do you have any? Go ahead.
Yeah, my biggest concern right now is the overall general health, long term of our team members here, of our guys. So their health, and how long is this going to stick around? It's really great to work on all these projects right now, and we're all together and we're working hard. And then in 6 months from now, if all my guys start getting sick, and what do? We shut down for a while. It's just unknown, but that's my biggest concern, is their health.
So in your eyes, what is the key to getting through this?
Following the CDC recommendations. I don't know what else we can do. We have to think smart, do our due diligence, follow some guidelines, but we still have to live our lives.
Yeah,
we still have to be people, and we're social people, so beings, and we just need to be smart about it, and follow the guidelines.
It seems like common sense, right? But you know what they say about that.
You're right. I didn't want to say common sense, because that just doesn't work out well.
Is there anything you believe mold manufacturers need right now, whether it's information, whatever it is there something that you wish you had access to?
I don't know. I mean, not really. I think a lot of our suppliers have really stepped up to help us out. Now, obviously Herco, but also steel suppliers, mold bases, components. I certainly would like some relief on some payments for those suppliers, if they can ease them a little bit to help us, because we know we're putting out a lot up front just to get this stuff rolling. So, but they're willing to work with us a little bit, and
that's good.
I don't know. I think we're a lucky group, to tell you the truth. We're working. We're all working hard, and I feel terrible for the people that are laid off. And
I know. I really feel like I'm noticing it's either people are really, really busy or people have had to be furloughed or laid off. So it depends. And it also depends on how you were going into this crisis, right? How prepared you were. What did you look like? And for something this unknown, who would have thought? But hopefully that's a learning, if you survive, hopefully that's a learning thing to be more strategic in your planning, right? And so you can survive things like this. Well, I want to thank you both for your time. Anything else you want to share or put out there?
No, I think we're good. Thank you very much for letting us talk. Appreciate it.
Thank you for sharing your story.
Yeah. Have a great day.
You too. And remember, for everybody out there, for anything mold making, visit moldmakingtechnology.com and stay safe and stay healthy.